Look, without Django, this thing's gonna be nothing but Charlie's Angels.
You want to give me a break, Hanson? Or do you want to get back to that desk at headquarters?
What I want is for the mayor to realize he can't just plug some new guy into a program like this. I mean, who's gonna run it? You?
I don't have the wardrobe. Adam Fuller. Guy's a captain. Transferred out of the 16th Precinct. Before that, he was NYPD. Spent 11 years undercover.
Look, Captain, with all due respect, but there's just no way anyone's ever gonna take Janko's place.
Oh, I have no intentions of taking Jenko's place.
Captain Fuller was the leader of the pack. I mean, he was the captain of this police precinct that headed up this group of young-looking officers who went undercover in the schools. He was a teacher. He was a father figure. He was a friend. He was an authority figure. And he ran the show. I was one of the original cast members in The Equalizer. Me, Edward Woodward, and Robert Lansing were the three regulars. And we were a mid-season replacement, so I was hired for 14 shows, complete the season. They shot this show in New York, and they were flying me in from L.A. to New York, first class hotel, I think the Plaza, big per diem, big salary back in those days, and only using me for one or two scenes. At some point, they decided we can probably cast this part. Instead of relocating me to New York, we can probably cast this role in New York, as opposed to all this expensive flying Stephen, da-da-da-da. So they let me go after 7 shows, paid me for the last 7, so I had a pocket full of money. And I think about a week later, I got a call to audition for Jump Street. So that release from The Equalizer was one of the most fortuitous things that happened to me, because it released me to be able to go and audition for 21 Jump Street. And I auditioned for 21 Jump Street, did a wonderful audition. And the funny thing was, when I went back in for network, there was nobody there. So we had to go on tape, which I was not expecting. And it was the lousiest audition I think I'd ever done on tape, because I was totally not prepared to do this thing on tape. I was totally prepared to blow, a room full of people away with this reading, but on tape and I think they sent this tape to Barry Diller on an airplane someplace, who didn't care for it too much from what I understood. But the producers, Steve Beers and Nuss, Patrick Hasberg, they were all really hyped up on me. So, they convinced him that I was their guy. And I landed the role and went on to, do fabulous things.
Stolen cars are a very big business these days. Do you ever think about how much money the insurance companies shell out each year in claims?
I replaced Frederick Forrest, who was originally cast in Jump Street. Frederick was not used to the rigors of a 7-day TV shoot. He is a movie actor primarily, and he was not used to a series. So that was causing a little conflict, that he was just used to not working under that 7-day, speed thing. And I've heard a lot of movie stars say that a TV series for some reason bothers them. I guess, there's much more time in film, particularly if you are a quote unquote star. You can take 5 days to shoot, one word if you want to, so I think that was the reason they sort of mutually parted. I was literally doing 3 shows at once when I joined the cast.
Ralph, Adam, got a real live entertainer here. Yeah, I read his jacket.
So I reshot 2 of Frederick's episodes and was shooting my episodes also. So in that first week, I think I was shooting 3 shows at once. I was quite impressive. I had something going with each cast member.
Don't you ever do that again.
Johnny's character was always a little bit clashing with Fuller.
Studs and leather, here I come. KKK, awesome band.
Band?
KKK, Clean Cut Kids. It's a band, it's a gang, it's a floor wax. You gotta keep up with their popular culture, Hanson.
Sorry, Pinhole. They're not gonna buy 2 of you.
Peter's character was the fun, practical, joking kind of character, and Fuller was kind of a serious guy. Dustin's character was interesting.
All right, can you see the heating unit?
Yes, I see it.
Dustin was kind of a mystery. We find out later on that he wasn't even who he was supposed to be.
My bet is that they're just waiting for the word from Reggie to take that shot.
With Holly's character, it was a couple of dynamics. She was an African-American female, and Captain Fuller was an African-American character, so you had that kind of dynamics going on there. It was just a lot of stuff going on with this guy and all his characters. And it was just so much fun to be with the cast every day. It was like a little family, particularly the first couple of years, I'd say, because we were shooting in Vancouver, British Columbia. So we were all away from our friends and family here in LA, and we didn't know anyone there. So for that first year, 2 years, we pretty much hung out together. So it did become a very tight-knit little group. The first year, I was the veteran. So everybody was watching Stephen. These were young kids, some of them doing stuff for the first time. After the first year, I started to watch Johnny, because he was an interesting character. He always wanted to do interesting things. He's an undercover cop, so he wanted to do undercover things. He wanted to assume a lot of different characters. The problem they had, I think, is that the network wanted him to be, TV tends to put you on a slot. And Johnny was very popular. The girls loved him. He's a good-looking kid. They wanted him to be, this particular character, because that's what they thought the audience related to. But Johnny wanted to act. He wanted to experiment, to be a bunch of different characters. If he's an undercover cop, let me go under as, Baum, as an East Indian, as, Johnny would go as far as he'd want to go under as an African-American. He never really wanted to, but it was that kind of thing. He wanted to experiment. And that's what was outstanding about him, I think. He's a natural.
What's the money?
What the heck are you talking about, great boy?
I'm talking about somebody owes me $160 for all his pizzas.
Hey, look, man, what's the matter with you? Come on, we're taking over here now.
Ask me if I care. I'm out 160. If I don't get it, you guys go hungry.
Hey, look, give me those pies, man.
Forget it.
And Peter. Peter, he was the man. He's funny man. Always there with the joke, always there with the laugh. And for my money, Peter was the most talented in the cast. Johnny has gone on to become this huge superstar, but Peter is an awfully talented young man.
We will find out who Lauren's partnered with. Just let me try talking to her first before we arrest her.
Wait a minute. I want to know, what has she done to deserve this special handling besides lie to you from the start?
Her mother's a pro. Her father's non-existent. The girl was probably raised in the back room of a massage parlor. She never had a chance, Fuller.
Hoss, we are police officers, not social workers.
Holly and I first met, I think it was our first meeting. I think she was 12. I did a movie called Dummy, a TV movie made for TV with LeVar Burton, way back when, based on a true story, But Holly, at the time, Dolores Robinson was managing LeVar, and Holly played our little sister. Me and LeVar and I played brothers, and Holly did a little cameo as our little sister in the movie. I think it was one of her first things, too. Because her mom was managing LeVar, she got a little role in the movie. And that's when I first met Holly. So we have a little interesting history, to have done a movie with her back then when she was just 12 years old, and then years later to be co-starring with her in 21 Jump Street was sort of quite an interesting life's experience for us.
It's getting kind of hot in here, huh? Just get out of these clothes, huh, baby?
Well, what? Don't you want to talk about the price first?
I don't think I can wait that long.
Dustin, we would laugh because Dustin was having this language thing. His accent was always funny to us. But the nicest man on the planet. What did Holly used to call him? Holly used to call him Comfort, was her nickname for him, Comfort. Because he gave you that feeling just whenever you were around Dustin. That was the kind of feeling you got. He was just a super guy, and you were just comfortable around him, The
kid's name is Reggie Brooks. Guys like him don't hang with being humiliated. They lose the rep, their gangs take a walk. We put out a warrant for Brooks right after a pipe bomb blew off the hood of Madigan's car, but he disappeared. Reggie's a 3-time loser as a juvie. Last week, he turned 18. So this will be the first time that he's been suspected of a felony as an adult.
I think we had some very good writers. A lot of our stories were taken straight out of the headlines around the country. So I had good material to work with.
$150,000 in damage in one night. Mailboxes, lawns torn to shreds, spray paint from one end of the neighborhood to the other.
The whole gang is implicated, sir.
But it's still just vandalism, Captain Fuller.
It stopped being vandalism at 1 a.m. this morning down at Mercy. The kid the KKK has pulled out of that truck the other day is dead.
One of the things about the show is a lot of the shows never wrapped things up at the end. If you remember the show, you didn't always get a nice wrapped up package at the end. There was sometimes a loose end. If I remember one show where this young girl was pregnant, at the end of the show, there was a little conversation between her and Holly about what she was going to do about the baby. And she walked away going, I don't know. I just don't know yet. And it just sort of, faded out in credits. But it didn't wrap it up real nicely. They didn't tell us whether she was going to have an abortion, whether she was going to have the baby. It just sort of left it open-ended. And we did a lot of shows like that, where there was sort of an open-end kind of ending to the show. And I like that about the show also, because that's life. You never know what the next step is, what's going to happen next. One of the most interesting experiences for me was we did was it a 21 Jump Street day or something in Chicago? This was, I think, the first or second season of the show. We go to Chicago. There is this huge crowd at, I think it was Marshall Field's department store. We did autograph signing and that whole bit, and we come out. First of all, we were almost crushed to death, and at the autograph signing, we were sitting behind a table, pressed against the wall, and people were pressing. And when we left to go someplace else, we got into the limo, and started off, and it was like being a rock star. The limo was literally almost turned over, They were rocking it and shaking it, and we were afraid that people were going to flip this limo over. It was quite the experience to be a part of that kind of popularity. Was a shocking thing for me.
You don't have to call me Sir Hoss. I'm not in uniform.
Cops like you are always in uniform. You all right? Yeah.
I have nothing but good memories about any of these young people.
Hey, what do you say we let them take him downtown and we go out for pizza?
They were all great young people, and I liked them all. I'd say the morale was excellent. Anytime I'm on the set, the morale is going to be excellent. It's going to be, I don't even come outside unless I'm intending to have some fun. You got to have a good time around me, or you got to get away from around me, particularly on a set. You should always bring pleasantries to a set, I think. This is, in my opinion, one of the luckiest professions in the world, to be able to do this every day. I mean, we're the last people who can complain. Yeah, we get paid large amounts of money for having a great time. To me, there's never any reason to be anything but happy when I'm doing this business.